There are a lot of GoPros and cameras and stuff going on in this place, and I feel like the need to take a selfie with this big group, but I left my phone in my coat. So it is what it is. Well, listen, thank you very much for having me today. I'm really excited about the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I know a little bit about Springtide and about the work that Springtide does, and I was very, very excited to hear about this movement to make democracy better. Because I feel like even though I'm a politician now, this is still very much part of my goal. And I thought what I'd do today is share with you a little bit of my story and how I ended up stumbling into what I'm doing now, and how I am continuing to attempt to bring some of those same ideas and thoughts into politics, and how frustrated I am at the state of politics and other orders of government. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So who am I? I'm a guy who is always engaged in the community. I just met the president of the Dalhousie Students' Union, and I told him, I'm sorry, bad news. I was president of the University of Calgary Students' Union, and my VP External is now my chief of staff. So you're stuck with the people you're with now for the rest of your lives, folks. And then I was told that the former Premier, Premier Dexter, had the exact same story, that his VP also became his chief of staff, which I did not know. So I've always been a little bit engaged in community work and just in the community around me. I went off and lived and worked in Toronto for a long time and went to grad school and was very, very focused on getting my job, my career, and so on straight. And one time when I was living in Toronto, I was traveling a lot for work, and I realized that I would be away for the municipal election, and I would also be away for the advance voting days. And the strange thing was, I realized as well that I didn't much care, because the election wasn't all that interesting. We already knew who was going to win for mayor, and my counselor was a non-entity, so I didn't really much care about voting for counselor one way or the other. And that really bugged me, because I had never not voted in an election. And I thought, well, why is that happening? And I blamed myself mostly for not being as rooted in the community as I should be. And, you know, part of that was I was traveling a lot and so on, but part of it was that I wasn't seeking out opportunities to become more rooted in the community. So when I left that job and decided to move back to Calgary, I didn't have a job. My only goal was to be more relevant in the community. And I did a bunch of things. I worked with an organization called Canada 25 that was looking at getting people between 20 and 35 more involved in the communities around them through the lens of public policy. Through that work, I wrote a little book about the future of Canadian cities. Somehow became an expert on Canadian cities because I wrote a little book. Who knew it worked that way? I thought it was the other way around. And ended up teaching and doing other work. Now, the reason that I mention that is in my time as a professor at Mount Royal University, and I keep having to remind the folks at Mount Royal University that I'm still a professor. I am just on leave, and no, they cannot take my job away. January 1st, 2018, they tell me I'm supposed to be back in the classroom. My research focused in two areas. One was on civic engagement, how and why people get involved in their communities. And the other was about cities and how we can make cities better. And I learned a couple of things. The first thing I learned was that it is actually tremendously easy to get people involved in their communities. Super easy. And the research bears this out. Number one reason people don't get involved or don't volunteer is what? That's exactly right. It's not time, it's not money, it's nobody asked me. So all you got to do is ask people. You got to set the table. You've got to set expectations that service and volunteerism is what we do. And this afternoon I had the chance to speak at the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, and I told the story of our response to the flood in 2013. And if I distill that down to one sentence, it is, we helped one another because that's what we do. And if I had a little role to help set the table, to help set the expectation for that work, that's a good thing.